This is where the fun begins.
Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose.
King Kong ain't got shit on me!
Oh my God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm.
What's the
Everybody
procedure, everyone? What's the procedure?
Stay calm!
Say my name.
And here we go.
What's going on? My name's Matt.
I'm Derrick.
We still don't have an intro figured out, but that's all right. We're hanging, we're hanging in there, Look,
Yes,
we're
sir.
back for another episode of Realist. But before we start, I do have to give a shout out to obviously our official YouTube page where we are uploading these episodes. If you're watching, go ahead and hit that subscribe button on OTS Media. But if you don't want to, we would like you to. But if you don't, we also have our social media platforms, OTS Media Co. We have that on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, another site called Fanbase. So go ahead and show us the support. Check out all the other fellow podcasts. And one last thing, I know we're boring you. We do want to give a shout out to today's sponsor. So Derrick, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, so we're episodes being brought to you guys by Champ Number One Boxers. Champ Number One Boxers are a Black-owned company that's down here in Atlanta that decided to, work with us at OTS, our first official brand sponsor. So they have the most comfortable boxers that I've ever worn, slides, t-shirts. So they have stuff for men and women. The boxers are great for working out, great for just everyday wear. So please, they have different prints too. So all types of prints that you would love. The Jamaican one has been my first one. I'm Jamaican, so that's that was a phenomenal find for me. So but yeah, just please go check out their website through the link in our bio on all social media platforms, Champ Number One Boxers. You go through the link in our bio, you make a purchase, you're helping two Black-owned businesses at one time. And I want to say like that just to give you a little incentive, to kill two birds, one stone, right? So yeah, it's a great brand. Shout out to Champ Number One Boxers. Appreciate you guys for rocking with us. And yeah, please go support them. Another great brand. I wouldn't even be promoting them if I thought that they weren't this good. They're the most comfortable boxers I've ever worn. Most comfortable boxers. So please go check them out if you guys have not done that already. Link is in our bio on all social media platforms, and I think as well with YouTube. If you're on YouTube, I think you can still get to our link from there. So yeah, check it out, and even give us some feedback. Let us know what you guys think. I think it's a great brand though. Great brand. So shout out to Champ Number One Boxers.
I said the last episode, I said it again. Buy that shit. All I'm gonna say. Like I said, I have a few pairs of my own.
Yes, sir.
The most comfortable attire ever. I mean that with no exaggeration.
Yeah, so. yeah. It's great stuff right there. So I'm gonna get a workout in later on today. So I'm looking forward to being able to do that in a comfortable position.
Yeah, 100%. Well, look, so how you been doing, man? What have you been watching,
man?
Most important question, of course.
Yeah, I'm good though. I'm doing well. How you doing, man?
Hanging in there.
Yeah,
trying to piece my life together one step at a time. So
that seems to be the thing everybody's doing. It's on every level you will be doing that.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, no, I've been watching. Actually, I didn't realize that this was even on Amazon Prime until I want to say like Thursday or Friday, because I stopped looking for it. But the 2021, I think it came out in 2021. Candyman. Did you ever see that?
No, the 2021 version.
Yeah.
Or no, I never got. Never got around to watching that.
Well, I never even watched the older one. I wanted to watch this one first before I watched that one for some odd reason. But It was actually really good. I actually enjoyed it. I think uh I probably should have waited until closer to Halloween to watch it, just because it's that it's got that horror film to feel to it, but it's not, to me it's not a horror film. I think it's horror adjacent. I'll put it like that. Um but it is slightly graphic. Um but I actually liked it. It's a lot better than what I thought it was going to be. Um and even a little bit better than what I've heard um other people say in terms of like what their thoughts were on the film. It's actually better than what I've been seeing on social media or what I did see on social media when it came out. Um, I would suggest watching it. I would suggest watching it at least one time. At least one time. I thought they did a great job of progressing the story and telling the story of Candyman and the um, development of the character. So I thought it was really good. I thought it was really good. I might watch it again because it was something that it's not like layered, but it has a lot of social issue themes in there. Which gentrification is one that they discuss a little bit on there. But they have a lot of themes in turn thematically that are sorry, they have a lot of themes that are placed in the film um through paintings
Mm.
and social commentary through that, and I actually enjoyed that, so I might watch it again just so I could see what I may have missed like in the background or anything like that. um but no, it's a great movie. I would definitely suggest watching it if you have Amazon Prime. Really, really good movie.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think I was also in your shoes, not having watched it as it's released. I still haven't watched it to this day, unfortunately, but I did see the general consensus being mostly negative, but I
Yeah,
purposely avoided looking any deeper in the event that I would watch it later down the line.
yeah,
Because the
yeah.
least I want is to sort of ruin that organic experience
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um or anything. So
Do you
yeah,
do
I
you
was a bit surprised by how jarring
do,
it sounded, but then
yeah.
again, I'm not sure why that is the case.
I don't understand either. They I think they kind of took it a little too far in my opinion, but do you pay attention to uh anything critics actually say in regards to a film? Like, do you take that
Um,
into consideration when you're going to go see something, or
more so out of more so out of curiosity than
okay,
anything else. An example I like to use is Eternals, for instance, which was
okay,
critically bashed for
yeah,
whatever reason.
yeah,
When in my opinion, there were numerous Marvel projects deserving of a much lower rating
yeah,
than
yeah,
they
yeah,
were given.
yeah,
So I went through Eternals sort of anticipate. I kept I kept making these bold statements, a bit which is intentionally hyperbolic, being that it had a chance of being like the greatest Marvel movie ever.
mm-hmm.
Solely because it's taking such like a deviation from from what we've seen in terms of cinematography,
Mm-hmm.
and really basically creating a more intimate story than we're used to.
Yeah, yeah,
The
yeah,
problem with that is when you have characters who have existed, thousands of years, right? And they've sort of been in the shadows, purposely ignoring the events of the MCU. Then it
mm-hmm.
begs the question, why would they never interfere? That's obviously explained in detail, but
Mm-hmm.
it is a bit bothersome,
Yeah,
needless to say.
yeah,
Anyways, all that to say, some of the criticisms were very unwarranted,
mm-hmm.
and I think a lot of critics, fans included, were I guess like apprehensive, to give the film a chance
Mm-hmm.
when it did. There were spots that felt a bit different than the typical Marvel movie,
Yeah,
but sort of like what we discussed in the previous episode or so.
yeah,
Um, Marvel sort of has like this weird safe zone where
mm-hmm.
once they start to like take risks,
Mm-hmm.
they pull back and resort to what they're used to.
Yeah,
So
yeah, for
sorry,
sure.
a bit of a ramble there, but
No, that's
you
perfectly
know,
fine, man. Perfectly fine.
yeah, but to answer go back to where your initial question was, not so much. I mean, I think if I allow the critics to sway, to sway my opinion, then am I really having my own opinion, or am I
Yeah,
just listening to what someone said in an article? But is that the same
yeah.
way for you? Like, do you look at like reviews out of curiosity to see where people lie, or do you sort of want to? Because I know you're not a huge trailer person. You don't watch any trailers, so
Yeah.
are you still aware of what people are saying most of the time, or do you try to keep that on the down low?
So I guess maybe I put it like this. I'm kind of like in between. Because especially if I don't watch a movie like the weekend it comes out, um, I'm gonna see different opinions just on social media in general, right? Um, I think I pay more attention to those opinions than I do like official critics. Like I don't I don't pay attention to Rotten Tomatoes. I don't pay attention to like IMDb's rating or anything like that. I kind of just I know I'm interested in a film based off of like who's starring in it, who's directing it, um the story itself in terms of like if we're especially if we're talking about like the MCU, like I'm gonna watch any MCU film anyway, right? So you've already got me hooked. All you need to tell me is the release date. I'm gonna watch it. Does not matter. Um, but for other movies, I have to see like small snippets if I don't know anything about it. But if you tell me like Denzel Washington is in this movie, I don't need to see any snippet or anything like that. I know he's gonna be good. Viola Davis, I know it's gonna be good. So I think it kind of depends on who's in it for me, who's like the supporting actor, um, things like that. So I don't really pay attention too much to like actual critics because they to me they get these ratings all wrong for the most part. Especially Rotten Tomatoes. Rotten Tomatoes will grade a film low as hell, and then I'll go see it. I'm like, you know, that doesn't make sense. Like, I can tell where certain films might get a little pushback on it, and that's fine. But to rate it so low is actually a little weird to me. When some films don't deserve that at all. Like I didn't think Batman versus Superman was that bad to rate it as low as they did. You know what I'm saying? It excuse me, it had issues in it with it, but then when you go back and watch like the director's cut or the uncut version of the film, rather, um, it's a different movie. You know what I'm saying? Like that actually it gives you a better gives you better context as to where they were actually taking or trying to take establish the that cinematic world. Um, and to me, it made sense. Now, certain decisions like Lex or Apocalypse or whatever, like yeah, those are horrible, in my opinion. But if I'm looking strictly at Batman and Superman, it's it's a phenomenal movie. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
I think a lot of people actually rate films low based off of certain elements that they didn't like. And I can't do that. Like last episode, we talked about Matrix Resurrections, right?
yeah.
Everything in that movie was
I'm
bad to
sorry about
me.
that, by the way.
No, I need
Had to make you
WB and
relive
the
your memories.
Wachowskis to apologize. um, but it seemed like everything in that movie was so bad that I'm not mad at a low rating on that, right?
Yeah,
I'm not mad at a low rating for a bad movie. But if there's a movie that's good, but it just has certain bad elements to it that I'm like, okay, I could have done without this, but overall the movie was good. I'm not rating the movie that low.
yeah,
I'm just not doing that. And I think a lot of critics take that approach where if they don't like something, it's an automatically bad film. But there's a lot of things to discuss with movies. Like you could discuss the music score, you could discuss the writing, directing, uh, the visual effects. Like you could discuss different elements to it and say, it had these great qualities to it. It's just that such and such wasn't really developed the right way, and that points to the writer and director. Okay, cool. If that wasn't the best part of it, I can understand why your rating might be a little lower, because those are the leading aspects of it. But if your issue was like um maybe like color grading, or um you didn't appreciate some visual effects or whatever, you can't rate the movie extremely low because of something that's a low impact to the overall art, overall story. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I know that's a long way to answer the question, but there's a lot of reasons as to why I just don't pay attention to critics um online as much as a lot of other people do, because I want to formulate my own opinion on
Yeah.
what I'm watching. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, certainly,
Yeah,
certainly, and
yeah.
you
I think
know,
everything is a blank canvas.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I think that's a perfect way to put it. And instead of being reliant on you know another person's opinions online, sort of boast your own, you boast your own critical thinking.
Yeah,
Be able
yeah.
to, you know, say with full confidence you like to dislike a movie without feeling pressure,
Hmm.
to perceive a film
Yeah,
a certain way.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
something that sort of I struggle with, especially in the Star Wars fandom.
Oh man,
In
yeah.
regards to the sequel trilogy, because I'm a person who says that the Last Jedi is not the worst. It's not the worst film in the franchise. I said
Mhm.
Luke Skywalker was perfect in the movie.
Okay.
I've had people literally tell me my opinion is wrong. I've had people say that like you're an idiot for thinking this. You're stupid for thinking this. You know, I just you can't respond to ignorance.
You
You
can't. And
know,
honestly,
like
I don't know much about. I mean, I've seen all the Star Wars films except the last one that everybody just dumped on.
yeah, that
Um,
one's deserving of every
yeah.
ounce of criticism, but
I've
in my
seen
opinion, at least.
yeah, I've seen all the other ones, and but I've only seen the original ones. I'm sorry, I've seen all the Star Wars films one time, so I can't really like go based off of the title. I'm still thrown off as to the placement of like
Yeah,
when which film takes place or whatnot. Because I know like Obi-Wan Kenobi is coming out this week, right?
yeah, I
And
guess.
that's what it take place after one of the original films, I think.
Well, after Revenge of the Sith, I'll put it like this. Yeah, a lot of like TV shows and so forth,
Mm,
and canon novels have come out.
mm-hmm.
So just be prepared. So once you see that like full chronology, you're gonna
Yeah.
be like, what on earth? Because I felt that way,
Okay.
because I bought my first Star Wars novel the other day. So
Okay.
I mean, you have every right to be confused. Like me personally, like I can't memorize the films, TV shows, etc. on years because they go by like
Yeah.
a BBY
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
or ABY, I believe. The ABY and then BBY. And I'm
It's
saying like,
very
how on
interesting.
earth? Like, I don't understand how you can attach a year to it. Like that's confusing to
Yeah.
me. I just
Yeah.
say I know one, episode two, episode three. Like I'll
Mm-hmm.
go by
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah.
I'm not,
Yeah.
as easier for me. And then you sort of have to figure out, okay, well, this can't happen because like a character's life here. So then,
Mm-hmm.
but then like part of the show happens after. So it's really like season one, you know what I mean? So it gets
Yeah.
overwhelming. It gets
Yeah.
overwhelming to keep up with the canon.
Yeah. See, that's something like. I think at one point I will maybe sit down and watch everything in chronological order. Um, but I know that's going to be a project, because if you're taking into account the actual series as well, that's going to take forever to
Clone Wars, Bad
watch.
Batch, and Rebels. Yeah, that's
That's going to take
a
forever,
lot of
man.
content to watch. You're probably
Yeah.
better off just watching certain arcs of
Yeah.
Clone Wars, certain episodes of Rebels, and then Bad Batch. Skip Bad Batch. It's a mediocre show,
See,
but
I didn't. I didn't watch that at all, but also didn't watch Boba Fett.
Book of Boba Fett, yeah, it became the book of cameos by episode 5 and 6. So
Okay, all right. So I like to skip that because I love the Mandalorian. I love the
yeah, it's a great
Mandalorian,
show.
but I can't for some reason I try to watch Boba Fett and I can't get into it, man.
Yeah, it's unfortunate too because they well unfortunately you have to watch it to understand what happens in season 3 of Mando.
oh
Let's just
man.
say, yeah. I
Okay,
mean, I could tell you, but in case you want to
I'll
experience it
watch
yourself.
it. Yeah, I'll watch it.
Episode 5 and 6 are great. I'll put it this way: Boba Fett doesn't show up until episode 6, and he's in it for 10 seconds. Yeah, they completely like shifted the focus of the show on.
Okay. How do
So,
you do that?
you do that when you realize your character is terribly uninteresting and has nothing of value to offer. So you say, you know what, we're just making a Mando spin-off episode to
Oh
set up
my
season
god,
3.
that's
Two of them,
hilarious.
like they brought in like characters who literally have no effect on the overall plot, which is I'm not sure how far you got into it, but just to deal with like spice runs,
Okay.
via the pikes or whatever.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, sorry for everyone watching. It's just all that to say, you know, the Star Wars universe is full of interesting decisions and even more fascinating people who can't handle what another fan has to say. That's most of the
Yeah.
time. Most of the, I don't want to
Yeah.
generalize, but it's just a lot of immature people who are outspoken in that community, and
Yeah.
it paints a very bad picture, for anyone wanting to make their way, into this universe. So
Yeah.
you know,
I'm looking forward to Obi-Wan Kenobi. Um, but if I'm gonna have to watch you said Revenge of the Sith. That's when it takes
yeah,
place
it takes
after.
place 10 years after. There a few
Oh,
shows came out. Yeah,
okay.
yeah, it takes place
Okay.
10 years after, but a few shows came out. I think are canon before then, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
I know like the Han Solo movie is before Obi
I didn't even
Wan.
watch that.
Yeah.
I forgot about that movie. But they also did just come out, I want to say within the last week, and said that they're not doing that anymore. Where they're like having recasting people as like classic characters. They're not going to be doing that anymore. So I think
Oh
we're
my
not seeing we're not going to see that kind of film again.
god. I'm so mad right now because for those who don't know, like me and Derek obviously have like conversations about we try to finalize what we want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to him, "There's something I want to talk about for last for we recorded this like the last the first episode you see recorded yesterday, but
Yeah.
anyways, the last episode I said that there's something I want to talk about, but I can't remember what it is. So chances are I'll remember it at some point.
Oh, you
That's
just
why I
remember
want.
what?
That's why I wanted to talk about was
Oh,
Kathleen
Solo.
Kennedy being saying how they can't cast actors as some of their iconic characters, new
Yeah.
actors as their iconic characters, which is a stupid premise because you're
Yeah.
bringing back Ewan McGregor, who's a recast of Alec Guinness from the original trilogy. So what's your logic? You have no credibility in that regard. And
Okay.
besides,
I see what you're
Alden
saying.
Ehrenreich is not the issue with your movie. The issue with your movie is that you released it in May
Mm-hmm.
instead of the holiday season. You had no marketing for that
Right.
movie until you had a TV spot in the Super Bowl that
Yeah.
connected to a trailer released after the Super Bowl,
Yeah.
right? And then, most importantly, you had such a stigma surrounding your project. You fired your original directors.
Mm-hmm.
You brought in Ron Howard to replace them,
Yeah.
and
What do you expect is going to
you
happen?
went through pretty much a rush development because you ultimately had to get the film out since you poured millions of dollars, and you ultimately wasting the time of the cast and crew who poured the hearts and souls into making your movie.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, it's entirely your fault. Like your marketing department failed,
Mm-hmm.
your executives failed, your actors didn't fail you. Like they can't do anything. Like they can't change the script. They can give their
Yeah.
opinions on the
Yeah.
script, but you're probably not going to listen to what they have to say.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I want to talk about. Is just I hate how like executives, and this is tends to be a deal breaker now, where like in terms of how you know fans will support these projects is
Mhm.
when executives do these weird scapegoats, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
to justify their own failures.
Hmm.
Or yeah, to pretty much justify their own failures. Like, yeah, this happened because actor this right. It basically saying it's a huge middle finger to all of them.
Oh yeah, yeah. I
He's
mean,
like,
accept
you know,
responsibility. Just accept
it's just
responsibility, man.
yeah,
That's all you gotta do.
yeah. But I'm sure you want to. I'm sorry, I know, kind of like
No,
I'm
you
rambling
good.
here. But if you want
You
to
good.
obviously add more to that, like, do
Yeah.
you think that's becoming more normalized to where executives feel like, yeah, because we have all the power, we can just go out and say whatever we want and expect people to just sort of, like, yeah, yeah, you're right. Like, we're not gonna, you know, we're not gonna give you
Unfortunately,
backlash.
yeah, unfortunately, I think that that's something that people like to do because what if the movie did like the best in terms of like Star Wars cinematic history in terms of like the box office? What if it did that? Okay, you're not coming out saying anything about having issues with recasting. You're not. You're trying to make an excuse as to why your film failed. That's really it. And um if you have no build up and you're just going based off of this is a Star Wars um project and trying to just you hoping that people are going to just drive toward it because it's just Star Wars. That's to me that's a horrible way to do it. I don't like how films I think we discussed this before, but I don't like how trailers for films are 2.5 3 minutes long now anyway. I don't enjoy that, but you have to show some type of element that gets people enticed, right? So you could just do shorter trailers and build anticipation and hype with that. that's
Yeah.
that's what that's what that's what companies do anyway. That's how these studios work. You
Yeah,
build
yeah,
anticipation off of trailers. If you expect people to just go watch it, because I think it came out like May 4th, right? Like that's it's like Star Wars Day or something like
yeah.
that. March 4th or
Somewhere
something.
around. Yeah, it
Something
was
like
it was
that.
an odd. It was like May. No, not even. I think it was like May. Supposed to May 20th. Like
20th.
May 20th.
But you can't do that. If your theatrical releases are usually during the holiday season, stick with that. You legitimately figured let's do something totally different. And then when it didn't work, you want to blame just one aspect, which is to cast younger versions of your legendary characters. That's not how that works. You can't do that. You see what I'm saying? Like that doesn't work. So that's on them. They gotta accept responsibility for that.
Yeah.
But that's also like uh oh, man, I hate doing this to him again. But that's like Tyler Perry getting mad at the audience for not liking his story development or his wigs, right? Like you've got if people hate it and you're not making money off of the product, that's when you change your course of direction. The thing about Tyler Perry though is he's followed his own formula for like the last 20 years and it's
Mm.
made him a billionaire. So you can have people that are critical of his work, right? But his audience loves it. I, his audience loves it. You can say what you want. I'm critical of a lot of things when it comes to Tyler Perry in terms of wigs, in terms of story development, in terms of um character development, like. But one thing I can't really say too much about is like his success rate. His success rate is absolutely phenomenal, right? People love what he does. And because people love what he does, he has not changed his formula. So why as a franchise would you change your formula that's been working? Why?
Yeah.
So you can't get
It's
mad, like you can't get mad when people don't like it.
and then blame the actors
and
for
then
why
blame the
people don't like
actors.
it.
Come on.
When literally, I know everyone was questioned all this casting as Han Solo because Harrison Ford is iconic for a number of reasons, but what do you expect him to do? He didn't give a bad performance. Is the movie great? No. Is it a outright terrible movie? No. It's fun. It's fast paced.
Yeah. Everything you expect from a Star Wars film.
What you expect from a traditional Star Wars experience. Like,
Yeah.
is it revolutionary? Will fans remember this as you know rate this among their best, generally speaking, like among their best Star Wars films? Probably not.
Yeah.
It'll fade into obscurity, and then later down the line, maybe we'll get like a spin-off connected to Solo,
Yeah.
just to prove that he does have an interest in continuing. They plan a trilogy, for goodness sake.
Yeah. Yeah.
A full
Yeah.
trilogy with Solo.
Yeah.
So it's just it's laughable. Kathleen Kennedy's logic is flawed, and while she has done good for the franchise, I think she just lives in her own realm.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's so she lives in like this weird alternate reality where somehow everything she says is logical
Right.
when it isn't. Most
Yeah.
of the time. Again, I'm not the kind of person. I'm not like the Star Wars fan who thinks Kathleen Kennedy it ruined the franchise, etc. Because without her, we don't get Force Awakens, which is mostly liked by Star Wars fans. We don't get the Mandalorian. We don't get Rogue One. We don't even get the Darth Vader scene in Rogue One, which, by the way, wasn't in the original cut.
Right.
She wanted her and Disney wanted that Vader hallway scene. Guess what? Becomes probably one of the most popular ones in the new Disney era, right?
Mm-hmm.
So she's made plenty of good decisions, and then she makes very stupid decisions or says very stupid things that affect her credibility as an executive. So
I think a lot of these people get in their own way, man. They get in their own way. I don't know what it is and why it is, but they just get in their own way for no reason.
Yeah.
And then want to blame other people for why they do that, right? As much as we've been critical of DC over the years, they're not blaming the actors for their issues in terms of why they can't get the DCEU to work.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like it's
100%.
just like
I can't think of an example. I can't think of like an immediate example, but no,
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
they just don't know what to do.
They don't know what they're doing.
That's it. Yeah, they just simply don't know what they're doing. They're just like trying to like they probably have like a jar with a bunch of like paper written with like DC characters, and they shake it up right before their meeting. They put their hand inside and they say, "Oh, we're making a Plastic Man movie. All right, let's do it."
Yeah.
and then tape it right to their whiteboard. And that's what they're planning.
And that's where they go. That's exactly. I'm pretty sure that's exactly how their
them and
their
Sony
meetings are.
Sony's probably worse. Sony's like I don't even know what they're doing, but that's a conversation for another day.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. But I think we're ready to go into a feature presentation. I think because there's a lot of stuff that we got to get into, bro. This is a film which I think a lot of people, especially people my age, have been fans of for so long, but we didn't think a sequel was actually coming, right? And
yeah.
Like I actually put this movie out of my head, like because this came out when I was 19, and if you guys already know, we're watching the James Cameron Avatar film. So this came out when I was 19, and I was excited, thinking we are gonna get a sequel like in 2 years or whatnot. And nope, you gotta wait 14 years, 15 years. So let's go ahead and take a quick break. And when we get back, you guys will be able to check out our review on 2009 James Cameron film Avatar.
Hey, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Dwayne from Past the Ox and Life's a Botch podcast. I'm coming to you with a real dope advertisement if you got a moment. Can we do that? Peep this. Yo, you tired of that uncomfortable feeling with your undergarments? You know what I'm talking about. Like, literally having to adjust so it gets real comfortable in between the real safe space. Or maybe just wedgies from it just going underneath, you know what I mean? All that. Let's keep it in 100. Y'all know how I'm feeling. Y'all know how that feeling goes. Well, I want to introduce to you the ultimate solution coming from the number one premium and fit athletic wear just for you. I'm talking about none other than Champ Number One Boxers. Champ Number One Boxers is a black-owned underwear brand, okay? They literally specify in giving you the most top-notch, high-quality, premium, adjustable and fittable and totally comfortable undergarment wear that is just for you. Not only is it something that you can wear, feel good in, feel confident in, and love, but it's also high quality, feels good, and most importantly, it is definitely fashionable, okay? Comes in a different, wide variety of so many different styles and themes to these undergarments. Something to make you look good, feel good, and swag real good in the process, all right? So, again, did I get to mention that this is also a black-owned brand? It's a black-owned brand, y'all, so if nothing else, definitely go support that 100%. So, what I want to do is I want to tell you, head on over to OTS Media Co. on all social platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. If you go over, you click the link in the bios, it'll take you straight to the Champ Number One Boxers website. You can check out all their styles, you can check out their bundle deals, you can check out why this brand exists, what it's all about, and trust me when I say you do not want to miss out on the types of opportunities going on right now on the site. Champ Number One Boxers. Make sure you do it for the champ in your life if you ain't already doing it for yourself, champ. All right? Champ Number One Boxers. Make sure you go cop those. All right? All right.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Surprise, it's me and Derrick again, talking about the feature presentation for today's episode in James Cameron's Avatar, released back in 2009. So, um,
Yeah.
I think we'd be remiss not to mention that it is the highest grossing movie of all time. So I'd expect that most moviegoers, even people who don't avidly go to the theaters, are probably aware of the significance of this movie,
Mm-hmm.
especially at the time when it released. Um, and so really, before we get into the nitty gritty of the story, characters, world building, etc. I actually wanted to ask Derek. I know he sort of mentioned this right before we went out to break.
Yeah.
This movie released when you were 19 years old. So did you get it? I'm assuming you got a chance to see it in theaters. When it did first come out. What was that
Mm-hmm.
experience like for you? Did you anticipate it to be this sort of as big as it was, or was it sort of like another movie? There's another movie for you that turned out to be something different.
I didn't expect it to be what it was. I didn't know what to expect, honestly. Because actually, I think back then I was still watching trailers. But trailers back then, of course, like, and this is this is why I feel so old, man. Because trailers back then were not this long. Like, they were a little bit longer. They may have been around like the 1 minute 45-second mark, something like that. But they weren't this 2.5, 3 minute long thing, right? So you didn't get uh a lot of the story ruined for you, right? So it just gave you the general plot, who's in it, when it's coming out, go to the next thing, right? And so I didn't know what I was going to be seeing when I went to go see this movie, but I just remember sitting in there and watching it and just in awe, right? Like, it was spectacular to see something different, right? So, like, I think this is a time where there's a bigger emphasis on visual effects, and how different they are. I kind of have a theory about that. I may need to go back and check it out, but I want to say that ever since Pixar came out, like the ability to put emphasis on details in visual effects started shifting. So like you saw everything happening with like Toy Story and um A Bug's Life, like those films. I want to say that those films had a big impact on how things are done visually, because those films you could see like the small attention to detail, whether it was stitching in a toy or um, water droplets or whatever. It seemed like to be a bigger emphasis. So by the time you get to um, the early 2000s, you're starting to see that take place a lot more in films. That's why, like, even I told you like yesterday, or last episode, um, that's the big difference between the Matrix and the Matrix, the first Matrix and the second and third Matrix. There seems to be something different visually with those films than there was with the first one. So I say all that to say I think that had a huge impact on Avatar, um, with putting such heavy emphasis on details uh, uh, for visual effects and even with CGI. Like we're not. This is still a time where if you're seeing green screen, like you can kind of pick up on it, right?
Yeah.
You kind of know that's what it is. This didn't have that feel, and so then that leads. And this is the same time period as Iron Man coming out, right? So I don't know. I want to say that like those details, like those the heavy emphasis on details, and of course technology coming out and advancing, right? But I think those little things help to make the project better. And so the shift that took place between the late 90s to the early 2000s did that. I think I want to say that it did it actually focused on that more, and I think that's where we're seeing um you know that change in technology, and that change in terms of presentation with films take place in the early 2000s, to where you get something like this. James Cameron was ahead of his time anyway, because of like Titanic, right? Like Titanic was just different on various levels, but also visually it was ahead of its time, in my opinion, because of things like that. Attention to the small details, and like especially like with the ship actually breaking in half, and you know practical effects, visual effects, just different little elements that went into that movie. I think he was ahead of his time. So coming into Avatar, he was already like, I think he was ahead of his time in that too. Honestly,
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, definitely let's speak more to the technology because right, I had the opportunity to look up sort of what makes you know camera technology for the aperture so revolutionary, and to utilize what a digital um which basically allows was it's basically a bunch of like motion capture work. And again, I'm not so well versed into really how animators can possibly replicate the expressions of the actors and then apply it to a monitor where they digitally you know alter it to where like the character looks the same as the
Mhm.
actor in terms of what they're saying. So totally ignorant in that regard, but I'm just mostly impressed by um how good the film looks
Yeah,
in today's time.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
I can assure you there are a number of again, always have to bring up Marvel, but I feel like
Mhm.
it's most applicable. A number of Marvel films have so much noticeable green scene or excessive use of CGI.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Now, some of the elements of CGI are understandable. Others are just a bit too lazy. A film like this, I can understand. I think most of us can understand that a planet like Pandora, doesn't exist. The Na'vi, which are obviously the indigenous people living on the planet, obviously cannot be done practically, right? Because similar to what you're saying, they require such intricacies, and or really that small attention to detail, to make sure they feel um alive
Yeah.
and vibrant. So
Yeah.
um no, I agree. It's astonishing to me how Cameron has single-handedly changed the science fiction genre, even going back to his age in Terminator, where back in the 80s and really going into the early 90s, a lot of filmmakers didn't have access. No filmmakers had access to the technology we have in today's time.
Right.
So they mostly relied on whatever was available to them and practical effects, which I think makes films in that era, in those eras, so special.
Yeah. Yeah.
And despite Avatar being a heavily, like a CGI driven film, it's mesmerizing to
It
look at,
is. It
to
is.
see how him and his team constructed this world, how they designed some of the creatures, how they designed obviously, the main indigenous people being the Na'vi. Um, yeah, so it kind of leaves you lost for words.
It does.
Just to think of like the massive undertaking Cameron and his crew had to go through, and
Yeah.
what they're going through now with the sequels.
We'll see, and that's the thing. Even with the sequels, like he's been working on those movies for years. Like we're in 2022, so I want to say it's been like 8 years or something like that. I want
Yeah,
to say that because he set a record for the deepest dive um few years back, and that was for filming this film. I think that's coming out this year.
yeah. Avatar 2 and 3.
Yeah, and that was years ago. He set that record, right? So he he has a different approach to filmmaking, and I can appreciate it because it's slower, and because he takes his time with it, he's able to get those finer details uh, uh, included into his project to where you can tell this doesn't look rushed.
Yeah,
Like as early as this movie came out, in regard to this type of technology, watch anything that came out in the 80s or 90s where it came to anything remotely close to aliens or anything that took that was kind of like out of this world type of thing, where it required imagination to come up with that type of character. Like, take for example Men in Black, right? Did you ever see that?
yes, 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 yes.
Okay, so you remember how the aliens looked in that movie, right?
Yeah,
So to me, I think that's probably like one of the only films that I can point back to that um it doesn't look cheesy. Like the CGI doesn't look cheesy, but you can tell they're not real, right?
yeah. They're
And
stretching the limits of
yeah, yeah,
their
they but
technology. Yeah.
even back then they started adding little finer details to characters. But with this, and I think this is also has to do with resolution, right? Like what you're watching it on. Because if you watch it on a high def television, you're able to see you're able to have a better visual experience because there's it's higher resolution on the screen. Um, but for this movie to come out in 2009, you can look at this CGI and you could tell, okay, this is dated technology, but it doesn't look cheesy. You know what I'm saying? Like you could tell it is dated, but it's not cheesy at all. It to me it kind of looks like almost like early Xbox 360 ish, right? Because I remember like playing Halo, and Halo was breaking for its time, right? And even back then, to me, like just it was just visually stunning, and you can tell now compared to video games that we have now versus what 20 plus years ago with that when that game came out. um you can see the improvement, but you can play that game and it doesn't feel bad to you. That's what this is to me. Like what you can watch this, you can see that the technology is dated, but it's not bad. You go back and watch like the old Terminator films, and you that's cheesy. That's cheesy, but it doesn't have that cheesy feel to it. So I can appreciate that. Like that's what I'm saying. To me, James Cameron, when he comes out with a project, the project that he's coming out with kind of almost does what I think that the Matrix did in terms of setting the tone cinematically for years to come. I think his visual effects tend to do that. That's what I think, for the overall arc of the visual aspect. I think that's how I'm feeling that.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's a good place to leave off in terms of the technology because you know if Cameron didn't accomplish what he did,
Mm-hmm.
right? Does that change? So, well, actually, this is the most important question to ask. So now that we obviously went a bit in depth with the technology, sort of our views on what Cameron accomplished,
Mm-hmm.
what are your thoughts on the film? And then the follow up question to that is that you know if Cameron didn't accomplish what he did, what else does this film have to offer besides the amazing visual effects, like motion, all the motion capture work, etc. So
Yeah.
I can flip that around because I know it's kind of a
Before I answer that, real quick, give us
yeah.
the synopsis of the film real fast.
Oh yeah, honestly, I probably should have. I should
No,
start
you're
off by
good.
saying that.
You're
Yeah.
good. You're good.
So the synopsis is basically, um, how would I best describe it? I'm terrible at giving synopsises.
You're good.
How you were saying the full version. I'll just simplify it like this. Jake Sully is given the opportunity to become an avatar, in which a person's consciousness is transported into an avatar's body. The avatar being the blue people you see either in the posters or in the trailers. Their species is called the Navi. And basically, his character sort of embarks on this journey of having to deal with um, for sort of upholding what he thought were honorable principles, the honorable principles of humanity, with protecting the very people, his kind intent on wiping out, and all that takes place on this on a planet in an unknown part of the world, if not well in a known part of the world, etc. So sorry, so that's
You're good.
the synopsis, and yeah. So I guess with that in mind, of course. So what were your thoughts on the film, and then obviously follow up being, this film, didn't have the visual effects to offer. Like, do you think he could hold up on his own?
Um, my overall thoughts on the film, I think it's a story oldest time in terms of colonization, right? Like you have these people going to a different planet, which I think at the beginning of the film they talked about time travel, not time travel, but cryo. What's it called? Like cryo sleep, right? So I'm assuming
Yeah,
they're going through they left planet Earth to go to Pandora, which apparently is a faraway place where you need to be put put into cryo sleep to go to. Um, but which I don't think they really kind of like. I really wish they had spent a little more time with that because I was kind of confused. With Jake's brother dies, and
Correct.
he has to take his brother's place because only your genetic code can connect to this avatar, which cost them, I'm assuming, millions of dollars to create.
Yeah.
Um, so because of that, I wish they had spent just a tad bit more time explaining the timeline with that in terms of how his brother dies and how he got put onto the ship to go to Pandora. I would have liked to have seen that.
Yeah.
That
And I think,
that's probably the only thing. Good,
yeah, for sure.
good.
Oh no, you go ahead. Yeah,
Oh,
that's all I was gonna say. I was like, yeah, for sure.
okay. Yeah, no, I would have liked to have spent a little more time with that because I think that that would have given a little more credence or context to the why. Like I know his brother dies and he has to take his brother's place because he's the only one that can genetically attach to this avatar. But I would have liked to I would have liked them to spend a little more time with that. But having said that, your question about if they didn't have the visuals to go along with this, would this film have stood the test of time or anything like that? I don't think so. I don't think I think because basically what you have after that is the story of it. Put like this, it's a recreation of Pocahontas in a lot of ways. It also tells a story of basically the pilgrims coming over to America, right? And taking over the land that the indigenous people already occupied, right? So it's retelling that story, but through the lens of kind of like Pocahontas because of the ability to romanticize um um Jake's character and what's his name,
Materia,
Natari. It's yeah,
materia. Yeah.
yeah, like that was the John Smith Pocahontas effect, right? Like, did that actually happen in real life? I can't speak to that and say that that's how their relationship was, right? In terms of like the real story, but um they romanticized the whole thing with bringing Jake and Natari together. So had they not had the visual effects, I don't think this would have been something because this won 3 Oscars. Um, say it says it has 89 wins. I'm assuming that's just different. Those are different awards. Yeah, BAFTA awards, Academy of Science Fiction, American Cinema for editors, like stuff like that. American Art Directors Guild. So they won overall 89 different awards for this film out of a possible 131. So they were nominated 131 times and won 89 of those nominations. This movie is not doing that without these visual effects. They're
Yeah.
not. They're not. I mean, this film is not doing that because it again, to me, it's a romanticized fictional aspect of how things happened with uh basically the pillaging of the Native Americans, right? Like that's all that this was. It's just a
Yeah.
retelling of that because you hear those code words like savages and like
Animals.
animals. Yeah, like this is that. This is that. And honestly, I was like I forgot that even took place in this movie because again, I haven't this is what 2022. I haven't seen this movie since maybe 2012, 2011, something like that. It's been a long time since I've seen this movie. So I put that out of my head. I didn't even remember that. So when I went back and watched this, I'm looking at it, I'm like, ah, that feels
Eerily similar.
it
Something
that,
I watched before.
well, those words, right? Like it's just like they basically refer to them as monkeys too, which is talking about how, people living in trees and stuff like that. Um, and the one guy, I forgot his name.
The Colonel or like
Parker,
the
the guy that was like running.
he
Uh,
like the greedy corporatist.
yeah, he said that they can go find another tree to live in.
Yeah,
You see what I'm
yeah,
saying? So it had like a combined stinging element to it, because it's like you're like the Navi people are they kind of reflect African culture uh in general to me. Um they reflect that. Um I don't know much about Native American culture in terms of beliefs, but to me it seemed to be rooted in African culture. I'm not sure like which country in Africa or like tribe in Africa, but it had that element to it, right? But you're also discussing thematically, you're discussing the pilgrims coming over here to America and taking land that was already occupied.
yeah, yeah, and I suppose you know to reflect on what you said earlier about Parker. I think the two villains, being him and the Colonel, were incredibly cartoonish.
Mm-hmm.
I think their lines were very childish and um I can't find the right word. It was just very childish and obvious. And what I
Yes.
mean by that is it feels as if the film did everything in their power to remind you as an audience, they're not the ones to root for. When we can clearly see based on their actions alone
Mm-hmm.
or their weird ego complex,
Mm-hmm.
they're more than likely don't have the interests of the Navi at heart.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, mind you, some villains it can operate in that way. I'm the kind of person who wants to see, what possesses a person, to want to destroy the home world of indigenous people.
Mm-hmm.
What possesses someone actual cruel and senseless, beyond beyond reaping the benefits of
Right.
doing so, right?
Right.
And that's fine. He's a corporatist, so naturally his first, I mean, literally he sort of spills out what his plan was to one of the main characters, and saying this piece right here goes for like $20 million, like every like 5 kilos or something along those lines,
Yeah.
right?
That's
He's
a
obviously
lot of
looking to
money.
retrieve. Yeah, they're looking to retrieve that material, and the colonel was simply hired because I guess he's a kind of, yeah. It's just none of the characters are engaging. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
um, the only character I liked was Terry.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to sort of see their culture explored thoroughly
Mm-hmm.
was very fascinating to me.
Yeah.
I think one of my favorite scenes in the film was when I forget the name of the tree, but there's a tree that allows the Navi to connect to their ancestors.
Yes.
It's sort of just like it was beautifully shot as well, because I think Cameron used color so well,
He did.
despite there being just literal CGI environments
Mm-hmm.
around the characters. Um, yeah, so there are a lot of great elements, and also ones that prevent the film from achieving true greatness. But um, like I said in the beginning, it's just this is a monumental feat
Mm-hmm.
that Cameron and his crew accomplished. So
Yeah. I mean,
you know,
they had a I think their budget was estimated to be like $237 million.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's a lot of money for a budget for a film. that you don't even know. I'm assuming he got that kind of money because of the success of Titanic. Um, my God, that's a lot. I mean, but they got what, $2 billion, over to almost close to $3 billion worldwide gross.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
it was a you know, well worth investment, um, a worthwhile investment. But I don't know that, like you said, without the visual effects and stuff like that, like this is just beautiful in every element, of when they were going through Pandora. It was beautiful. The lights were beautiful. The um the interaction between characters and animals, like I thought it was very peaceful. It was I liked it. I would not mind. I don't know if they ever came out a video game for this, but I would assume now that for when the sequel comes out, that they will be working on a video game.
Ubisoft is actively developing one.
They are.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I will be
I
buying
was
it.
actually thinking that watching the film. Well, I actually before we get into that, because I think uh something I did want to close off with was obviously like the legacy of Avatar, what that what this means for the future sequels, and
Hmm.
obviously we know like we just mentioned the video games in development. So I'm not sure if there's anything more you want to add in terms of where your thoughts were on the overall story, or if you just wanted to give
Yeah, we could
um
discuss that.
our,
Because
our final thoughts, because I know for me personally, I can't think of anything that was remotely interesting in regards to the narrative beyond individual scenes. But
yeah,
I don't want to purposely drag on and
no,
not
you're good.
offer anything
You're good.
anything
I was kind of
substance.
confused because beginning of the movie, the colonel said that he described how the skeletal um structure of the Navi people were, right? And he said that it was very hard to kill them, right? When you get to the end of the film, and I forget how to pronounce his name, but I think it was like Sute. I think that's how you pronounce his name.
Are you referring to Natiri's brother,
Oh, that was actually who she was supposed to be married to.
or brother? Oh my god, that's sorry. I
No, you're
meant to
good.
say like fiance. I don't know where
Yeah,
I got brother fiance. Sorry, but I
yeah, no,
know
you're
you're
good.
yeah
Yeah,
yeah.
he as they're, you know, I just made another connection to something. I'll get to that in a minute. But as they're fighting the what they call the sky people, because they're in these helicopters and stuff like
Yep.
that.
Right.
As they're fighting them, Sute went into one of the ships,
In the cargo ship. Yep.
and they shot him, and it was so easy to kill him, and I think um another character that jumped in with him, and I found that very weird. So there's like small disconnects to the story, from how they brought it into to the end. I mean, how they brought it in to how the story actually ends. There's a disconnect because I didn't think that they were easy to kill like that.
Yeah, in terms of having like a specific fighting style. Another aspect that bothered me too is some of the characters' deaths were, except for Grace, because you referred to the series fiance, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then Trudy, the pilot, who for whatever reason her only purpose is I'm not doing this, and then immediately helps Jake escape from that prison cell.
Mm-hmm.
They just die, and they're not mentioned for the rest of the movie. Like their deaths were treated so insignificantly, except for Grace, because I guess her, and James Cameron have a strong relationship, so maybe you know you give her a more sizable role. And I'm not one to accuse, but you could definitely tell when like a director and actor have worked long enough together. They often have, you know what I mean? Like I'm not
Mm-hmm.
trying to say like Cameron did that because of Weaver, but it's not coincidental, right?
No.
At all. It can't be coincidental that she's like the one her character dies and is given an emotional send off, even though I didn't necessarily care for a character or anyone for that matter. And it's like
Yeah.
it kind of just happens,
Yeah. I mean, I found it very interesting that I can't recall, maybe when Jake first got to Pandora, there was a black guy on the base, but I can't recall there being any black people, um or any person of color, just so to speak, be in that army outside of Trudy. Like Trudy, obviously played by Michelle Rodriguez. Um she's Hispanic, I believe, and she's the only one that wasn't white, which to me, obviously, like, that also speaks to the theme of the film too, right? Like, you have nothing but white people taking over what is not theirs because there's an opportunity to make money, or you can, you know, you feel like you can take over just because you want to take over, right? Like, that's what this film speaks to, quite honestly, and I'm hoping that we don't see that with the sequels, because um I thought visually, of course, visually you can't say enough about it. Amazing, but I think that they lacked depth um with a lot of characters, but they lacked depth in terms of, like, um portrayal in general, right? Because you go to an army, because these guys are all uh former Marines or something like that, right? So you telling me you can only find white Marines or Army force, like, that's it?
Yeah, I
That's it?
so that so what you said in the beginning about their like the odd choice there being, yeah, no black actors, at least in my recollection in the film. I I've actually been asking that question quite a bit for a few of the movies I've been
Mm-hmm.
watching.
Mm-hmm.
Like Attack on Titan,
Mm-hmm.
the anime, phenomenal series. I'd recommend to anyone. But in the back of my mind, I was thinking to myself, why are there no black characters?
Yeah.
I was like, it's a bit because like I was thinking, okay, honestly, like I was like, why? And
It
the
just
first
doesn't make
one
sense.
it was introduced in the fourth season. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay,
But
maybe.
but see,
But
here's the
like,
thing.
I was like, okay. I mean,
All,
like I said, yeah,
all the
like
all the
I
black
just,
people or people of color in this film are Navi.
yeah, yeah, because I think those Zalanda plays playing the series. So yeah, I mean, maybe
There's
that contributes to a
one,
much larger discussion. It was just that was noticeable to me,
yeah,
but I try, for me, like I I try not to let that affect my viewing experience, but it's hard not to think about it.
it's
You know what I
difficult
mean?
not to think about,
You know what I
because
mean?
when
So
when when you think about the actual story itself, it's these people coming over to Pandora to um get this material that makes them how much, like, an ungodly amount of money, right? um they don't care what happens to the people living there. That's obvious. They had a plan. They created these avatars to infiltrate the Navi people, right? So you go to create these avatars of people that are on your crew, to utilize them to jack them into the avatar so they can go in, try to talk these people to move out of the way so they can get this mineral underneath this tree. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's
yeah,
weird. That's
yeah,
weird.
it's just
That's
yeah,
weird.
you know,
That's very
uh,
weird. And the
yeah,
only black people outside of one, like, crew chief that was on the plane, uh 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 all the black people are the people that you're moving out of the area, right? And if they don't move voluntarily, you're moving them by force,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Because you see something that they have that you want, and that's a problem. That's a societal issue, right? Again, that speaks to how everything happened with the Native Americans here, and how their lands were just, they were eviscerated because these people wanted land, or they wanted whatever that was on the land, right? So it's it's weird because they, like, again, like, they said, we're going to teach you XYZ, we want to learn XYZ from you, and then they kill them and take their lands. That's exactly what took place in this movie. They built schools in Pandora using these avatars to teach these the children of the Navi people different things. And I think there were certain characters like Grace that was doing it. She was doing it for the right reason, right? She wanted to actually learn about the planet. She wanted to get samples so they can study different elements of plants and um animals. Just she wanted to, she was a scientist, she wanted to study, right? But everybody else, they wanted to just get the mineral that was under this tree. Didn't care if it killed anyone, didn't care if they destroyed their homes, whatever. They just did what they wanted to do. So that I find problematic. I find that very problematic with this film. But I'm hoping with the next one, or because I think they have 3 sequels already.
Four.
Is a total of 4 films, right? Like
Total of
counting this
five,
one,
including
it's total of
this
5.
one. Yeah,
Okay,
so 4
so
sequels. Yeah, and they filmed 2 and 3 back to back, and then 4 and
yes,
5 back to back. If I'm not, yeah, I think that's how
which
they.
which is also why it took James Cameron so long
Yeah,
to come out with the sequel.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how this translates in these sequels, because like I even forgot how everything ended, because I was when uh the sequel was announced, I was like, hold up, didn't he like die or something? Like I
yeah,
like, how in the
yeah,
hell is he here now? Real okay, so they jacked him into the avatar basically, and I had to explain to my dad, this is basically like the Matrix a little bit. Like you're jacking
yeah,
into whatever to go into another world. So I overall I enjoyed the movie, man. I think again, it's visually just stunning. um Story is nothing original, but and the development of the characters really aren't, they're Disney like in terms of how fast someone falls in love with someone. It's very fairy tale like, but overall I enjoyed it, man. I'm looking forward to the new ones, and I know he's coming out with um they're re-releasing Avatar, I think in 4K.
that's right.
So it should be out in theaters before the sequels hit theaters. So I might actually watch it. Like I might actually go see it before the sequel comes out. But what would you rate it, Mel? Because this is your
Yeah,
first time seeing it. Did you enjoy that part of it, or did you feel like you missed out or anything?
yeah, I think so. I had a bit of deja vu, so I think I did watch it at some point,
Okay.
but I
Okay.
don't remember. So maybe that this goes to how much of a forgettable experience it was for me, at least.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, like, I mean, I was aware of its existence, but I just forgot like the essence of the plot. So I think I did, but I just like to say like this is really my first time watching it, because I did like everything flew right over my head.
Yeah.
Um, if I ever watched it long ago. But sorry, to answer your question.
No, you good.
Um, I'm at a 3. I can't go any lower. I can't go any higher. I think out of respect to what, like I said, to what Cameron and his crew put together, on a production standpoint, is uh insurmountable,
Yeah.
or almost insurmountable.
Yeah.
Given the time of its release, and also given the time that they were working on the film, right? So yeah, I think a 3. The narrative is not particularly interesting. The characters are very uninspired and boring, but yeah, 4 sequels, right? Yeah, 4 sequels to improve on those elements. So
For sure.
at that point, there's no excuse. And at the same time, if you're just using it at the world build, you can do that. You may not be making like a better movie per se, but if it works, it works. So best of luck to them. I'll probably, I actually look forward to watching a sequel just to have have another immersive experience in that setting. So yeah. So where do you lie on the film?
I would give it a 3, but visually it takes it over the edge for me. So I'm gonna give it a 4. Just based off visuals. Like the story is average in terms of like development and everything like that. You can tell, you already know what's gonna happen anyway.
Yeah.
So it's predictable, but I think the visuals for me just carry this out. It really does. So I'm gonna give it a 4. I definitely recommend seeing it. I think based on when he started working on the sequels, and where we are societally, I'm expecting things to be more improved and different. But I wouldn't be shocked if they weren't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked, honestly. But the connection I made earlier, Michelle Rodriguez is in this. Vin Diesel is rumored to be in the sequel. So maybe Dom is in a coma. He wakes up and he's in Avatar. he's in Pandora or something, like maybe that's what takes place. I don't know.
I'll leave it off like this. Dom takes his car, he drives it over a cliff, right? And then it starts to fly, or it starts to glide, right, over those flying creatures or whatever. And then he looks at Michelle, or Trudy, right? And then she turned out to be alive. And then he says, you really remind me of my family.
Yes.
And then has her sit in the passenger, and they fly off to help Jake face off against whatever threat. And there you go.
Yeah, he saved her. He saved her from that helicopter as the missile hit. He grabbed her out of the seat and took her to safety.
Yeah. Actually, the last thing I want to add, in the final act, you know how the colonel sees Jake hanging on for dear life on his plane, and you know how he's hanging on to a missile. Why wouldn't he just fire the missile? Why would he put on an oxygen mask, take out a gun, and try to shoot?
Because that would make too much sense.
Yeah. Anyways, I thought that was painful. They made it he literally could have killed him. I mean, maybe he would have survived miraculously because he did plummet thousands of feet from the air. But he's really hanging on to the missile. Why would he not say this? Just fire those missiles.
Fire.
Because even even if he's not holding on to the one, I think the force of releasing from that hole
would knock him out.
Is going to launch him however many feet. And he'll probably let go, because it obviously has to collide with something to explode. But still, he falls to it. He falls presumably to his death, or he just obviously has to.
Yeah, that would make too much sense. Basically. That would make way too much sense.
Yeah, and you need 4 sequels. Can't get rid of your representative.
That's like killing Woody. You can't get 5 Toy Story films without Woody. So What are you gonna do?
Yeah. I just had to laugh about that. It's all about family, though.
Yeah, man. It's all. It's all.
Jake had to survive for his family. At least he's starting one in the sequel. So
Yeah.
way of Avatar, the way of family. So
Oh man, that's hilarious, man. I love that. I love it.
yeah. I love fast. So I still
Yeah,
haven't gotten past the first hour yet. So
you're
I
not
only
going
finished the
to
first
for a
hour.
minute, bro. It's gonna be a lot. It's gonna be a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah.
Anyways,
All right, man. Well, I think that wraps it up for us.
yeah.
Go ahead and give them your handles where they can find you, bro.
Yeah. So as always, it's gonna be Instagram, Matt underscore T29. I had to update it at some point, like with a like an OTS handle or something, just so obviously people know,
Yeah.
I'm with the podcast, I'm
Yes,
with the
sir.
crew,
Yes, sir.
and everything. But yeah, look, you finish this episode and you want to have a large discussion in regards to anything, I'm all ears. I'm always looking to engage in debates, peaceful debates. Trust me, I know I get pessimistic and everything most of the time, but I try to be as open minded as possible. I like having these conversations, like getting a chance to be here on this podcast, courtesy of Derrick. So it's a hell of a lot of fun to do this, and so like I said, thank you for your support, and thank you to Chance Boxers for sponsoring us. We really appreciate the support from them, and obviously appreciate your support for you guys taking time out of your day to watch us. So
Yes, sir.
thank you.
And you can follow me at Derrick_OTS. That's DERRICK. And again, follow all social media platforms. The brand on all social media platforms: OTS Media Co. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You can follow us and hit us up. Let us know what you guys think about the shows. Please rate, review, leave a comment. Definitely leave a rating though. Under any social media, any podcast platform you're listening to this on. Again, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell on YouTube. Get an update when we post, because we're posting almost like every other day on YouTube anyway. So you definitely want to get caught up on some of the past episodes of any of the shows. But please, specifically with this show, rate, review, let us know what you guys think. Let us know what you guys want to hear us discuss, what film or show you want us to discuss on this show. We'll get to it. So again, thank you guys for watching and or listening, and we will catch you guys next week.
Peace.